Alright, well, I'm down on the creek again today, and we'll take a quick look here and see that Ray and Wayne have been clearing off this bedrock here on this gravel bar, and they've done a real good job thus far of getting down into that bedrock. They say they got some decent gold, and I came down today to do a little video. Just a basic prospecting video, and what I've been doing is I've been working right behind this rock right here. Now this rock, you can see, has a nice flow up and then comes with a vertical drop down, which means that as the water flows over it, it is going to create turbulence, which is going to tuck the gold back in underneath the rock. I've dug a little bit of the material out of here already, and I've gotten some gold down out of there. Let me get the rock out of the bottom here. And what I'm going to do is just dig a half bucket of material, and I'll classify that out, and we will see what kind of gold we get out of the hole here. First thing I'm going to do is grab my 1/4 inch classifier. This is a half bucket classifier from the California Sluice Box Company, and I put it into my bucket, which I've already filled with water. One thing that bothers me when I'm looking at other people's videos is they're out there and they're classifying without using water in your bucket. Right? It is so much easier to classify with water in your bucket, and you're washing the rocks off and you are getting the gold. So now we're going to dig some material here. We had a good bunch of gravels that had settled in right behind the rock here, and I'm going to start with the gravel and go down. Now there is bedrock down there. You can almost hear it as we get this material out, and we can see that this is real good looking material. See right down here, this is a loose clay, kind of a mucky stuff, and it is good. Now this other very sandy gravel on the top will not contain much. This is basically overburden, and it will not contain much gold, but sometimes you gotta get through the chaff to get down to the wheat. Basically I use my hand to do the classification, or I use one of these. Alright, it's just a little garden cultivator, and you can swing it around in here. When you fill up your classifier completely, a lot of times it takes a lot of effort to move this material around in the classifier. What this does is it slides down to the bottom and moves the material through the classifier a lot easier. Since I only did one shovelful in the classifier right now, this cleaned up pretty well. And you can see there's a nice piece of quartz and a little bit of host rock there. But I always check as I'm doing this. Who knows, at some point there'll be a nice fat nuggie down here in the classifier. Look around, you can see all the little bits of quartz here, all kinds of fun stuff. Every once in a while I find a little piece of mariposite down in here, which is an interesting rock. It's only found right here in this area. So I'm going to continue digging, and I'm going to try and get back in as far as I can underneath this rock, and then at some point when I get very enthusiastic or have somebody to help, I will actually move this rock and get completely underneath it. But right now we're just digging material out and doing the classification. Alright, I did find some very greasy clay right down here, and that was back in farther under the rock. And when you get that real greasy clay, now that is just like a false bedrock. The gold is going to sit on top of it, but there will be no gold down in it. And there's a piece of greasy clay right there. Let's look at this stuff. You can see it's really got a very fine consistency. Right. Now the fact that I'm running it through the classifier here will break it up and get rid of any gold, micro gold, I guess, or as we call it, fly poop, that happens to be clinging to the in the clay there. But this is like playing in the mud. That's half the fun of being a prospector. You get to play in the dirt. Alright. And I'm using half buckets because they're a lot easier to utilize, and you're not breaking your back trying to haul some material from your dig site down to the creek. Right now I'm working in the creek, which just makes life even easier. Okay, I'm going to continue classifying and until I get a full half bucket here, and we will pick up the video from there. Alright, well, I'm digging out my hole here. It's just about got my bucket filled up, and I've run into something very interesting down here, because at the bottom of the hole you can see this fractured bedrock. This is frangible bedrock, and my shovel is actually breaking this up as I'm digging down at the bottom of the hole. Now, this is great stuff for gold because there are all kinds of little cracks, and between the pieces of bedrock, got a lot of clay in there, all kinds of cracks in the in that bedrock, and it just holds gold like a magnet. So I'm looking forward to running this bucket now. And the bucket's pretty full. As a result, when I get a lot of classification done, I may have to just do a little bit of this and get this down in here. A little more water in there. It sure saves the fingers. I'm wearing gloves today because day before yesterday I had some more cancer taken off my arm. I've got squamous cell carcinoma or something like that. But there's a chunk out of my wrist about the size of a silver dollar now. I had originally had some cancer taken off there, and they took a 50-cent size piece out, and naturally the cancer came back, so I had to run back down and had to take off even more. So now I got a big hole in my arm, and that's why I'm wearing my gloves today. I try and wear my gloves most of the time because your hands dry out so bad and they start cracking and are painful. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be wearing gloves all the time with no exception until I get this surgery healed up here. Alright, we are really full in that bucket. Get a little more water in. Shake around. Tap it down. And I'm going to leave this off to the side and go ahead and run it when I refill a bucket with water, because there's still a lot of gold and good stuff that needs to come out of there. Alright, now we're going to move over to the Junior Stream Sluice from the California Sluice Box Company. And we'll just set up, and it'll take a little while to run all this stuff because there's a lot of clay in it. I'm going to have to break that clay up. I'm looking for my spoon. There it is. And the gloves are hot. It's probably going to be about 95 today, so it's going to get warm down here on the creek. And we'll just quick put a little material in here and see how our flow is working. Yeah, it's melting off, but I don't have sufficient flow to make this a viable thing. Let's see if I can change my angle here a little bit. Get a little higher flow here. If not, I'll be switching spots, and I just don't have enough flow for this right now. You can see the water has been coming down consistently at this spot, and we're going to have to go find a new point to put the sluice in. Otherwise it's going to take me all day to do 1/2 bucket here. So I'll go find a new spot for the sluice and get back with you. Alright, well, I moved the sluice downstream here a little bit. And you notice I did have to put my rock rack on here. It's nothing more than a piece of channel aluminum, and it is worth its weight in wildcats. I mean, you take a piece of aluminum, transports quite easily, throw it in your pack or your bucket, and when you get down to the creek and you need to stabilize your sluice, you don't need to go look for a flat rock that's long enough and heavy enough to hold your sluice down in the stream flow. This is another little trick that is courtesy of her talk here. You can add rocks or subtract rocks or whatever, and I highly recommend getting yourself just a chunk of aluminum. I don't know if that's, I don't think it's aluminum threshold, it's something else, but you can pretty much see what we're doing here. Alright, now I'm very slowly feeding the sluice. You can see we're getting a lot better flow on the sluice. And every once in a while, if you're lucky, you'll see something show up here. With the stream sluices, it's not like watching the inspection mat on a regular sluice, but every once in a while, you'll see a little piece of gold that will hang up on the slick plate. And I'm hoping that that happens here now, so we can demonstrate it. So you can run an entire bucket of material through one of these things and never see a piece of gold. Then you'll do your cleanup on the sluice, which takes about a minute, and there's all the gold. Right? Life is good. Let's keep going here. Material is moving to the sluice quite easily. I'm not seeing any gold show up. Usually it shows up in the first or second riffle here, and every once in a while it'll just kind of hold right there at the front or back of the riffle and then bury itself with the action of the water. But don't see any chunks of gold yet. Doesn't mean it's not there, just means I don't see it. It's pretty boring watching somebody feed a sluice, so I'm going to turn the video off, complete this bucket, and I'll come back and we'll do a cleanup. Okay, well, I've just finished running that half bucket full of material through the drop riffle sluice here. Now it's time to find out if we have any gold. Alright, very carefully I lift up the sluice, keeping it level, take it over to my half bucket and put it in, and all it is a matter of splashing some water onto the sluice, and we will have a clean sluice here in just a moment. Alright, so 30-second cleanup, and I throw the sluice back in the stream, get it ready to go again. And there we go. We're set one more time. Alright, now if you watch my videos, you know that I'm a stickler for classification before panning. And what we do is we classify to a plus and minus 20 mesh. 20 mesh is the approximate mesh of a normal window screen. If you do your research, you'll find that like 80% of the gold in the world will fit through a window screen. So think in terms of smaller gold in large quantities rather than one large chunk of gold. Even though every once in a while it's really nice to find a nuggie. But this is the bread and butter. This is what keeps filling those vials up. And as you can see, I just classify this out, set it off to the side, and I have minus 20 mesh in the pan, and we might as well do a little panning demo here too. Let me find a little bit better spot to pan, somewhere in the sun, so you can see what I see. Alright, so our 20 mesh over there, plus 20s. And the most important part of panning, the first time you shake your pan is the most important. You want to stratify all the material in there. Gold being 18 times heavier than water, or 19, somewhere right in there. It drops immediately to the bottom of the pan, and then you can just move your pan gently to shave off the overburden, shaking your pan every once in a while to bring the lights to the top and keep the heavies at the bottom. Alright. And you can see we're getting a mixture of fine sand and black sand down there. Let's keep running this. I'm using a different camera today. It's attached to a construction hard hat. And so I'm not really certain exactly where the camera is pointing, but I'm hoping that you're getting it's in there someplace. I'll keep playing around with the camera position here too. But this camera takes AVI movies, which are a lot better quality than my normal videos, because I have to convert them to edit them in Windows Movie Maker. So I convert them to WMVs, and we get a quality loss in the video. So now you notice that I've moved to the smooth side of the pan, and now just gently, you don't want to have a small amount of material right at the bottom of your pan and try and run it over your riffles, because you have to pan too aggressively and you will actually pick up gold and blow it out. I'm taking a little longer than I usually do, just to show you what I do. And you know, I can see any gold that is attempting to move up and over the lip, and I can just keep doing this until I start seeing gold. Hopefully we're going to see some gold. Now, I didn't see a single bit of gold stick on the slick plate in the sluice, so I'm hoping that my first couple of shovelfuls out of that hole weren't a fluke, and that there is still gold down at the bottom of that hole. But we're going to find out here in a second. Now you see how much material I have left? That's maybe a half a teaspoon of material. At this point, I can... Oh, we got gold. Let's spread it out a little bit here. Drop some water off. You don't want to use a whole lot of water when you're swirling your material, especially if you got smaller gold, because it'll just pick it up and run it around the pan on you. Alright, I'm doing a process here called backwash and tap. And I see a piece of gold. I'll try to get away there. Alright. Every once in a while, I'll tap gently on the pan. Well, this is not a bad pan of gold here. And you can see it's actually causing even the fly poop size gold to creep up to the edge of the pan. You want to have some water in here while you're doing that, so I have to tilt a little bit. Now a couple of very gentle drops. Make sure we're not picking up any gold when we swing it around. Now I've got the gold separated from the black sand and the silver sands here. I can move those down and get rid of everything down at the bottom there. I always keep an eye out just in case a little flake got loose. Alright, so now I'm clean there, and there's the gold from a half bucket of material. Now, that's a decent amount of gold. I'm going to try and hold this up towards the side of my head, and hopefully the camera's picking this up. It would probably be better to get into the shade. Let's see. Alright. Alright. This is kind of video by braille here. Alright. Hopefully you can see the gold. But we got a decent showing of gold for a half bucket material. I will now snuffer it up. And continue digging. Again, you just tap the side of the pan that you want the gold to go to. Right? It'll all group up there right at the edge of the pan, right in the first ripple, and you can scoop it all up. Now, when you snuffer up gold, always do a check, especially with small gold. Squeeze some out and then go ahead and refill your bottle with water. That way you'll see if any gold got caught in the straw and is blown back out into the pan. Because a lot of times people tend to forget that, and they'll have a nice chunk of gold stuck in the straw, and there's a possibility of losing it at that point. Okay, that's pretty much it for Rick and the Rock here today. Alright, Wayne is mowing a neighbor's yard, and he will be down here shortly, so maybe I'll pick up and then we'll do another little video here when Wayne gets here, so we can see exactly what he's done on this bedrock over in this other section. But, oh hey, I almost forgot. One more thing to do. We have to do our plus 20s. Alright. And sometimes there is a surprise, a nice surprise, in your plus 20s. Now, the goal that we've been getting down here, I've only got like 3 or 4 plus 20s, and we've been here 4 or 5 times now. Ray got a couple of plus 20s, Wayne got a couple of plus 20s, but they are few and far between here in this section of the creek. All right. Again, since we're dealing with plus 20 mesh, the gold is going to be larger, and will sit right down at the bottom of the pan. I'm still being careful and watching the material as it moves out of the pan, even across the riffles. All right. And now I can go down to the smooth side of my pan and just walk this stuff right off the edge. And as I'm walking it, you can see that if a piece of gold shows up, I will immediately tilt the pan back up and get it down to the bottom. There's a whole bunch of the dreaded California yellow rocks here, which may look like gold to you as they're moving across the pan, but I can tell the difference. I know it's just a rock. Okay, down to a little bit of material couple of taps, roll it back, swirl, and if there was any gold in the plus 20 size in there, it would be sticking right up there, which there isn't. But that just shows you that every pan does not contain gold. Alright, that's it for the video for now. Hope you have a nice time watching it and have a very, very good day. Alright, I'm about to do the reveal from the second bucket that I dug there. I didn't dig quite a half a bucket, but basically what I did was, you can see where the shovel point is right here. Alright, that's where I dug the first bucket. Alright, it's toward the center of the stream bed. Right down here, underneath the rock, you can see that there's a nice protected area, a little pocket formed back in there, and so I dug this second bucket out of here. There's a lot more of the greasy clay and lighter materials in there. Alright, so basically, since I get to find out immediately after every half bucket what I got, why I can continue to quote-unquote sample the area here. Get a little more water. There we go. And I can tell just by tapping out here that we are not going to have as good a pan as we got the first time. And that lets me know that, okay, the next bucket I dig will be more towards the center of the stream and back underneath the boulder at that point. Alright, you can see just about 6 or 7 pieces of gold. I'll tap them, I'll get them out here. And you can see the finer gold here too. We're going to try and get this right up here and let you take a look at it. Alright, you see the real fine and tiny gold down in here? Alright, that's fly poop. And basically, when you're getting a lot of fly poop, right, you need to be changing your position to get closer to a pastry, because this is just flood gold and not that impressive. Certainly not worth the time it took to dig the bucket. Well, what, 10 minutes? Nah, that's okay gold for 10 minutes worth of work. No sweat. Alright, so basically that's the we're going to try and, that's the gold from today on the second bucket. Tap it out here a little bit, and you can see some gold, but I'm not going to write home about it, let's put it that way. Alright, well, we'll get back to it and I'll dig some more from the more productive side, and we will see if we get some more gold. Okay, doing the minus 20s from bucket number 3. This time I took advantage of the information that I had gained by kind of sampling with the sluice and only working one side of the hole. And so I worked, well, let's go over here and take a look here before we finish up. Okay, you can see right where my shovel is located. Alright, is where I concentrated in taking material. I did find a nice little drop down in there, and so I was taking material right out from underneath the rock at that point and back, because a lot of times gold, if the creek is flowing significantly, your gold will accumulate all the way back into here instead of right at the base of the drop. So I'm taking this material also. Now, in theory, alright, if my calculations are correct, this pan will be better. Might even be the best pan of the day. But we'll find out here in a second, because I'm just finishing up the last bit of the minus 20s. Let's run this stuff off here without losing any gold. Alright. Well, you can see that yellow rock that just went on down, and that's what drives you crazy. When you get down to this point, patience is a virtue, right? If you just take your time and move your material through so you can inspect it as it crawls over the end of the pan, life will be good. Right now we're getting down to that all-important half teaspoonful of black sand, and I think it's about time to tap out and we'll take a look and see if it's worthwhile. Okay, here's a nice piece of gold that just showed up. Don't know if it's a lot of gold, but it's nice. Okay, now see, this is going to be a nicer pan. Alright, and again, now I know where to dig. Alright, let's drop this stuff on back. Now my little pieces here are still staying with me at the top of the pan. And I can tell that this is chunkier gold also. I'm going to walk that gold out of the black sand into one position here. And swing around. Do a couple of drops to get rid of the real light, silvery, heavy sands here that we've got in some of these creeks. And that's going to do it for us. Get rid of this material at the bottom of the pan, and we can look and see that, yes, indeed, we got a decent pan of gold. I'm pulling this up, hopefully, so you can see it. This is kind of weird to be, have your camera attached to your head, so you're not sure exactly where the camera is pointing, and that's okay. Hopefully you see the gold, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flakes and some fly poop, but they're chunkier pieces. This one piece right there is nice and chunky. So that's it for half bucket number 3. I'll probably do one more half bucket and then just goof around. Since we got better gold here, I will be doing the plus 20 here in a second. Let me kind of snuffer this stuff up real quick. When you're using your snuffer bottle, when you start squeezing out, if you point your snuffer away from the gold, it will save you some heartache for chasing the gold around the pan. And that takes care of that. Do our quick check to make sure we didn't lose any gold in the tube. And now I can go ahead and do my plus 20s, which will take a very short amount of time. And we'll just cross our fingers and hope that there is indeed a chunk of gold hiding in there. Like I say, this particular creek is not conducive to big gold or bigger gold. So plus 20s are a thrill to get here. Alright, look that stuff off. We don't want to pan too aggressively, so we come over to the smooth side, and you probably have an ugly reflection. I've got a reflection in my eyes here. So, alright, we're down to it. Let me take a quick look. See if there's anything worthwhile in there. And one piece of birdshot. I'll stick that in the birdshot department. And that is going to do it. Alright, well, so much for the plus 20s. I'll take my birdshot. I collect all the lead and stuff, and I've probably got a 5-gallon bucket that weighs 50 pounds full of lead and brass and bullets and you name it, I got it.